Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. My name is Aiden. I was 31 when everything fell apart, and I remember it clearly because nothing about that year was accidental. I grew up around money, but I was never careless with it. My father built everything from the ground up, and I was raised watching him lose sleep over decisions that could wipe out years of work. That stayed with me. I didn't spend to impress people, and I didn't trust easily. Most people saw the last name before they saw me. In my world, that usually meant the same thing. People didn't approach me for who I was. They approached me for what they thought I had access to. I learned early how fast interest turns into expectation, and how fast expectation turns into entitlement. So I kept my distance. I stayed focused on work, and I kept my life controlled. That pattern repeated itself for years. New people came in quickly, tried to get close, tried to position themselves around my life. And when they realized I wasn't interested in playing the role they expected, they disappeared just as fast. I stopped being surprised by it. I just started watching it happen. Then I met Veronica. It happened during a dinner that wasn't supposed to mean anything. A business meeting arranged through an associate, the kind of night where conversations stay surface level and everyone leaves with polite handshakes. I didn't expect anything from it. But she didn't behave like the rest. She worked in corporate finance, which explained the precision in the way she spoke and the way she handled people without ever raising her voice. She wasn't impressed, and she wasn't trying to impress anyone either. There was a calm certainty in her presence. She didn't position herself around people, and she didn't adjust her personality depending on who was in front of her. She stayed consistent. That was what made her noticeable. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't treat the interaction like something temporary. I paid attention. Over the next few weeks, we met again. Same energy every time. No games, no chasing. She didn't act impressed, and she didn't act distant either. Balanced. One night, after another dinner, she said, "You don't trust people easily, do you?" "No," I said. "I just don't pretend to." She nodded like she respected that. That was enough for me to move forward. Looking back now, that was the first mistake I made, not noticing how well she knew exactly what to say. Veronica didn't rush anything. That was the first thing that made her stand out. Most people, once they realized who I was, tried to speed things up. Invitations, favors, subtle expectations. Veronica did the opposite. She kept things steady, controlled. On our third dinner, I tested it. "Let's go somewhere better next time," I said. "I'll book something private." She shook her head. "This is fine." "It's not about fine," I said. "It's about comfort." She looked straight at me. "Then get comfortable with simple things." I didn't argue. I watched. Months passed. She never asked for anything expensive. If I tried to send something, she'd push it back. "We're not married," she said once, handing back a watch I'd bought. "Don't complicate it." That earned her trust. I introduced her to my parents after about 6 months. I didn't do that lightly. My mother noticed everything, and my father trusted very few people. At dinner, my father asked her directly, "What do you want long-term?" She didn't hesitate. "Stability. Growth. I don't like depending on anyone." He nodded once. That was approval. After that, things moved naturally. She fit into my life without forcing anything. She kept her job, stayed busy, didn't cling. We got married a year later. Small ceremony, controlled, no spectacle. That's when things started to shift, slow enough that most people wouldn't catch it. She began traveling more for work. At first, it made sense. Promotions, new responsibilities. I didn't question it. "Another trip?" I asked one evening. "3 days," she said. "Client meetings." "All right." She kissed me and left it there. Around that same time, James Walker became more present in my life. He handled parts of the financial structure tied to my family assets. Clean record, good reputation, married, professional. I introduced them once at a formal dinner. "Veronica, this is James. He oversees some of our financial operations." James shook her hand. "I've heard a lot about you." She held his gaze a second longer than necessary. "Hopefully good things." "Only good," he said. It was nothing. Just a moment. But I noticed it. After that, I'd see them in the same room at events, talking, quiet conversations. Nothing obvious, nothing that crossed a line. If you were looking for something, you might question it. I wasn't looking, but I remembered. That's the difference. Trust doesn't mean blindness. It means you're choosing not to act. Yet. The next few years moved fast. I focused on the business, expansion, new contracts, restructuring parts of the company my father had left behind. I didn't slow down. That's how I was built. Then my parents passed away within months of each other. I handled it the only way I knew, by staying in motion. People came up to me after the funeral, offering sympathy. I nodded, shook hands, kept things brief. Grief wasn't something I showed in public. Veronica stood next to me the entire time. Perfect posture, calm expression, saying the right words to the right people. "You're holding up well," she told me that night. "I don't have a choice," I said. She studied me for a second. "You always say that." "And I'm always right." She didn't argue, just turned away and poured herself a drink. After that, something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough. She became more distant at home, still composed, still respectful, but less present. Conversations became shorter, nights became quieter. "You've been busy," I said one evening. "So have you," she replied without looking up from her phone. "That's not what I asked." She met my eyes then. "I'm working, Aiden. Same as you." Fair answer. Clean. But it didn't land right. At the same time, I started reviewing financial reports more closely. Not because I suspected anything specific, but because that's what I do when things feel off. That's when I saw it. Small inconsistencies, nothing dramatic. Minor reallocations, timing gaps, amounts that didn't match patterns. I called James the next day. "Walk me through this," I said, sliding the file across the table. He barely looked at it. "Standard adjustments. Nothing unusual." "I don't like nothing unusual. I like clear." He smiled slightly. "You're overthinking it. Everything's within structure." I held his gaze. "Make sure it stays that way." "Of course," he said. I left it there, but I didn't drop it. Weeks passed. At home, things didn't get clearer. If anything, they got more distant. Veronica stayed composed the same way she always did. Same tone, same rhythm, same control. But the space between us kept widening in ways she didn't acknowledge, and I didn't force. We still spoke, we still functioned, but it felt more like routine than connection. One night, she came home late and went straight to the bathroom. I didn't say anything. A few minutes later, I heard the shower running. When she came out, I noticed it immediately. She was adjusting her robe a little too carefully, avoiding direct movement. And when she turned slightly, I saw it. Faint bruises on her hip, partially hidden but not enough. I looked at them without reacting. She followed my gaze. "It's nothing," she said before I could ask. "I bumped into something at work." I nodded once. "Right," I said. She studied me for a second, like she expected more. When I didn't give it, she walked past me, but I didn't believe her. Not for a second. The next morning, I called a private investigator. "I want everything on Veronica Hayes, past and present." No emotion, no hesitation, just instruction. The following day, before I even got a full response back, Veronica texted me. "Dinner tonight, 8 p.m. We need to talk." I didn't reply immediately. I already knew something had shifted, so I answered simply, "Fine." I got there early. Same restaurant where we first met. Same table, same lighting. Nothing accidental about it. At exactly 8:07, she walked in, confident, controlled, like she already owned the outcome of the night. "You're late," I said. "7 minutes," she replied, sitting down. "You've waited longer." I didn't respond. She looked at me. "Let's not waste time. James is coming." I didn't ask why. I just nodded once. A minute later, the chair across from her moved. James Walker sat down. No hesitation, no introduction, like he belonged there. Veronica didn't react. That told me everything. I looked at him. "You're comfortable." He shrugged. "There's no point pretending anymore." I turned back to her. "So this is what you wanted." She folded her hands calmly. "It's already decided." "I see." She exhaled once. "I filed for divorce." No emotion, no hesitation, just fact. "And?" I asked. She looked at James for a fraction of a second, then back at me. "We're leaving for a week," she said. "Spain." James added, "We're going tomorrow." I leaned back in my chair. A week, not an ending. A continuation somewhere else. "You planned everything," I said. Veronica didn't deny it. "It's cleaner this way." I held her gaze. "You always liked clean exits." She stood up first. "This doesn't need to get messy," she said. "You'll be contacted through my lawyer." James followed her. They turned to leave together like I wasn't part of the same story anymore. But I was, just not in the way they thought. As they walked away, Veronica turned slightly. "Oh," she added, almost as an afterthought, "you should review the trust structure. Things change." Then they left. I stayed at the table. Same place where it started. Different ending. For a while, I didn't move. Not because I needed time, but because there was nothing left to process. The pieces had already settled. What mattered was clear. When I got home that night, the house was quiet. Not empty. Just unfamiliar in a way I couldn't immediately explain. I poured a drink and sat down without turning on the lights. My phone rang just after midnight. It was the private investigator. "I've got the full report," he said. I didn't speak. I just listened. He sent everything through. This time, there were no gaps, no assumptions, just structure. Messages, meeting logs, financial connections, travel overlaps, access points that shouldn't have existed. And James Walker wasn't just connected to her recently. He was embedded in the entire pattern. Then came the confirmation. Veronica Hayes and James Walker had been having an affair for years. Not months, years. Everything else in the report now made sense because of that. This wasn't something that started recently. It was built, maintained, and hidden inside everything I had already trusted as normal. Carefully layered, repeated over time. Designed not to stand out unless you were already looking for it. And Veronica wasn't just involved in it. She was positioned inside it deliberately. This wasn't a mistake. It was a long-term setup built around timing, access, and control. I closed the report slowly. No reaction, no shock, just confirmation. Now I had everything I needed. I took out my phone and called my lawyer. I told him what had happened, then said, "Start the divorce proceedings and begin a full review of the family trust and any linked financial interests." I didn't feel shocked. I felt clear. By morning, I had everything in motion: legal review, internal audit, and a quiet freeze on anything that could be moved without my approval. No noise, no warnings. At noon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up. "Aiden." A woman's voice answered, steady. "My name is Linda Walker." I paused. "James's wife." "Still, technically," she said. "We need to talk." "Where?" "Your office. 30 minutes." She hung up. She arrived exactly on time. No hesitation, no small talk. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, controlled posture. She didn't sit until I gestured. "You already know," she said. "I know enough," I replied. "What do you have?" She placed a folder on the desk. "Proof, messages, transfers, access logs. They've been moving money through layered accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger." I opened it. Clean documentation, organized, not emotional, methodical. "How long?" I asked. "About 18 months. They got careless in the last 6. I nodded. "And you?" "I started digging 3 weeks ago," she said. "Something felt off. He changed routines, guarded his devices. I don't ignore patterns." "Good," I said. "Neither do I." She leaned forward slightly. "I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here to finish this." "Same," I replied. She studied me for a second. "You're not surprised." "I don't react, I respond." "Good," she said. "Then listen carefully. They think you'll settle. Quiet divorce, split assets, move on. They're wrong." "I know," she said. "That's why I'm here." I closed the folder. "What do you want?" "Full exposure. Legal, financial, personal. I want custody of my son, and I want James stripped of everything he touched." "You'll get it," I said. "But we do it clean. No emotional moves." She nodded. Agreed. I stood up and walked to the window, then turned back. "They're leaving for Spain today. Let them go." Linda raised an eyebrow. "You're not stopping them?" "No," I said. "People make mistakes when they feel safe." A small smile crossed her face. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." I picked up my phone and called my CFO. "Freeze any external transfers. Flag every movement tied to James Walker and Veronica Hayes." Quietly. I ended the call and looked at Linda. "When they come back," I said, "they won't recognize the ground they're standing on." She stood, satisfied. "Then let's make sure they don't land softly." We shook hands. No emotion, just agreement. The game had started. I didn't contact Veronica while she was in Spain. No calls, no messages, no reactions. People like her expect resistance or begging. Silence makes them careless. 2 days before her return, everything was ready. Accounts flagged, legal filings drafted, internal reports complete. We had enough to move, clean and direct. The night she landed, my phone rang. I let it ring twice before answering. "Aiden," she said, her voice softer than before. "We need to talk." "We already did," I replied. "No," she said quickly. "Not like this. Things got rushed." "Then slow down and say what you want." A pause. Then, "I think we made a mistake." I didn't respond. She continued, "Can I come over? We can talk privately. No lawyers." I looked at the clock. "Come to the house in 40 minutes. She exhaled, relieved. "I knew you'd be reasonable." "I'm not reasonable," I said. "I'm precise. Don't be late." I ended the call. Linda was already here. "She's coming?" she asked. "On time," I said. "Be in the office. Door stays open." She nodded and set the recorder on the desk. "We just need her to talk." "She will," I said. Right on schedule, Veronica walked in. She looked polished, controlled, like nothing had gone wrong. She stepped closer and kissed me lightly. "I missed you," she said. I didn't react. "Sit." She frowned slightly but took the chair across from me. "You look tired. Are you eating properly?" "Get to the point." From my office, I heard a faint click. Veronica leaned forward, lowering her voice. "This doesn't have to end like this. You're overreacting." "About what?" I asked. She blinked. "The lawsuit. Freezing accounts. Dragging James into it." "You mean exposing him," I cut in. Her tone sharpened. "You're making it worse than it is." I leaned back. "Explain it, then." She hesitated for a second, then spoke faster. "James handled the financial side. I just supported decisions. It wasn't like we were stealing. It was restructuring, temporary shifts." I kept my eyes on her. "Say that again." She exhaled, annoyed. "We moved funds. Yes, but it was controlled. And I helped him. He couldn't have done it alone." There it was, clear, direct. I stood up. Her expression changed. "What are you doing?" "Finishing this," I said. Linda stepped out of my office. Veronica froze. "What is she doing here?" she snapped. Linda smiled slightly. "Listening." Veronica stood up, anger rising. "You set me up?" "No," I said calmly. "You walked in and talked." Her voice raised. "This is illegal." "It's accurate," Linda said. "And that's enough." Veronica looked between us, realizing too late. I walked to the door and opened it. "We're done," I said. She didn't move. "Aiden, out." For the first time, she hesitated. Then she grabbed her bag and walked past me, her control slipping just enough to show. The door closed behind her. Linda looked at me. "That was clean." I nodded. "Now we move." No hesitation, no second chances, just execution. Everything moved fast after that. By the end of the week, the legal notices were delivered. Not threats, actions. Veronica's access to anything tied to my family's assets was cut off completely. Every account she thought she could touch was already locked. James didn't last 2 days. The wealth management firm handling parts of my family's assets called me first. "We've reviewed the findings," one of the partners said. "James Walker is being terminated effective immediately." "Good," I replied. "Make it official." It already is. That same afternoon, the story started circulating. Quiet at first, then louder. Financial misconduct spreads fast when the numbers are clean and the evidence is clear. Linda handled her side without hesitation. Custody filings, asset separation, restraining order. Precise. No wasted motion. Veronica, on the other hand, tried to regain control. She showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant stepped in. "Sir, she insists." "Let her in," I said. Veronica walked in fast, eyes sharp, composure barely holding. "What did you do?" she demanded. I didn't stand. "I corrected a situation." "You destroyed everything," she snapped. "James lost his job. I can't access anything. Do you even understand what you've done?" I looked at her calmly. "Yes." She stepped closer. "You could have handled this privately. You could have stayed loyal," I replied. That stopped her for a second. Then she tried a different tone, softer. "We can still fix this. Drop the case, we settle. Move on like adults." I leaned forward slightly. "You walked into a restaurant, sat across from me with another man, and told me you were divorcing me, with my money in mind." Her jaw tightened. That's not... It is exactly what it was, I said, cutting her off. Don't rewrite it now. Silence. She tried one last angle. James is in trouble. There are people he owes. This isn't just legal anymore. That's his problem, I said. And yours. Her voice dropped. You'd really let it go that far? I stood up then, slowly, deliberately. You already took it that far. I just finished it. She held my gaze, searching for hesitation. There wasn't any. Security knocked lightly on the door. Escort her out, I said without looking away. Veronica didn't argue this time. She just turned and walked out. That was the last time she tried to control the situation. From that point on, everything happened on my terms. The case didn't drag the way people usually expect. Once the evidence was formally submitted, it became procedural. Clean records, traced transfers, recorded admissions. There was no mystery left to argue. James Walker tried to fight it at first. Then the pressure started hitting him from every direction: professional, financial, personal. Within weeks, he stopped showing up to hearings altogether. Veronica didn't disappear, but she changed. At first, she tried smaller moves, messages through intermediaries, then direct calls that I didn't answer. After that, silence. Linda handled her part exactly as she said she would. Custody stayed with her. James was stripped of access to anything tied to the scheme. The financial damage he tried to hide came fully exposed in court filings. One afternoon, I saw Veronica outside the house. She didn't come any closer, just stood there, waiting. I stepped out. She looked at me like she was trying to find the version of me she used to control. You planned all of this, she said. I responded to it, I corrected. Her voice was quieter now. I didn't think you'd go this far. That was your first mistake, I said. A pause. Then she said, Do you feel better now? I looked at her for a moment. No anger, no satisfaction either. I feel finished. That landed harder than anything else I had said. She nodded slightly, like she finally understood the gap she couldn't cross anymore. I lost everything, she said. You lost what you were willing to risk, I replied. She looked down for a second, then back up. Was any of it real? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, At some point, yes. After that, you changed it. Silence again. She stepped back slowly, no argument left in her. Before she turned away, she said, I didn't think you had it in you. I watched her for a second. I didn't either, I said. She left. No drama, no final words, just distance. The divorce went through clean. No disputes, no delays. Anything that had been moved was already accounted for and brought back under control. Veronica left with what was hers. Nothing more. James disappeared from anything connected to my world just as quickly. The night it was finalized, I sat alone and thought about the beginning. Not her, not the end, but the pattern. People don't suddenly become different. They reveal what was already there when pressure hits. I didn't hear from either of them again. I didn't expect to. Veronica didn't ruin my life. She revealed what I was willing to ignore. And when it was over, nothing was missing. Just cleared space. And for the first time in a long time, I kept it that way. Thank you for watching.